Hello, and thank you for joining me on A Psychologist Looks at Scripture. I am Peter Doherty, a Catholic priest and a psychologist, and I am pleased that you can join me. In this podcast, I draw upon my background in psychology and scripture studies to provide fresh insights into the Gospels. The Gospels continually invite us to deepen our faith, find new wisdom, and grow spiritually. There is always something more to discover together. I also try to apply the gospel values and teachings to address contemporary issues in today's society. Each episode runs about 7 to 10 minutes. I know you're busy, so I keep my podcast short. But if you have the time and are interested, please check out the earlier episodes listed on the podcast website and on YouTube. I would like to thank you, all my listeners. Thank you so much for being part of the journey. Your support energizes me to keep podcasting. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. They truly matter. They help this podcast grow and flourish. The gospel today from Luke chapter 7, verse 11 to 17, is about Jesus raising a young man from the dead. This gospel will be read in churches on November the 2nd, 2025. There are 3 stories in the Gospels where Jesus raises someone from the dead. We have the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead in John chapter 11, verse 38 to 44. Jarius' 12-year-old daughter being raised from the dead is recorded in Mark chapter 5, verse 21 to 43, and also in Luke chapter 8, verse 40, and Matthew chapter 9, verse 18 to 26. And now in today's gospel, we hear about Jesus raising the son of a widow in a town called Nain. What is interesting in this gospel is how there are few facts we have about the story. In the 2 previous resurrection stories, we have names, we have been made aware of some of the background information, and we are provided with teachings, but not here. It's clear this resurrection was not planned. If Jesus had arrived an hour earlier, or the funeral was an hour later, there would have been no miracle. We can reasonably put some of this story into perspective. The widowed mother was in a serious situation. First of all, losing a child would have been awful. My heart goes out to parents who have had to bury a child at any age. Secondly, this was her son, her only son. 2,000 years ago, women gained their social status either through their husbands or the male heir of the family. She had lost both. Her social prospects would have been bleak. There is no teaching, and performing this miracle in a large crowd would have had implications for Jesus, specifically his ability to move around without drawing curiosity seekers. There is no teaching or follow-up. We have no idea what happened next. But I wonder if the lack of detail is itself a noteworthy detail. It seems to me that this was an example of the raw compassion Jesus had for this woman. I remember my own mother telling me when I was a boy that Jesus likely thought of his own mother, who would soon be in that exact same position as this widow. I have no way of knowing for sure. But it makes sense that Jesus simply felt compassion for the woman. I also don't know why Jesus responded to this situation and not others. I'm sure there were many widows in Palestine when Jesus was ministering there. To my listeners who may have experienced a major loss and are now wondering why Jesus was compassionate in one situation but not in their situation. Sadly, I must say that I don't have a complete answer for you. But I would like to share some reflections with you that I hope will bring some peace for you. I urge you also to listen, if you haven't already, to my podcast released on October the 12th, 2 weeks ago, where I speak about waiting for God to act. There are different perspectives to life events. What we may see as a failure can also be a source of life-giving lessons. Loss can be freeing. Painful endings can lead to new and exciting beginnings. Let me hasten to say that I am not undermining the pain of your loss. It is real. But rather, I'm inviting you to see your loss from a different perspective. And hopefully you may find healing as you explore and consider those different perspectives. I remember leaving a teaching position that I had held for 23 years. I was very comfortable in that job. Looking back now, I think I was plateauing, going through the motions and no longer growing. When the work environment had become very toxic, I decided to leave. I quickly learned that I had given up a lot, and there was no going back. In retrospect, that while I experienced severe unexpected losses, I also gained many different and challenging experiences in my new jobs. My life now is radically different. Reflect on the lessons you are invited to learn. Wisdom develops from our personal sense of loss and the losses experienced by those close to us. Reflect on the blessings you have received in the past. Recognizing the Spirit's presence in your life in the past may ease the pain you are experiencing now, giving meaning to your struggles and reminding you that you are not alone. Resist becoming bitter, as bitterness shuts down the learning process and the healing process. In many cases, hardens the heart of the person. It's okay to feel anger at God for your loss. I am confident that God can handle it. Anger is the second stage of loss, according to the well-known researcher Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who studied losses, specifically death and dying. There are many other theories addressing loss. However, I found her theory to be quite helpful. It's just important to remember that the stages of loss can vary with each individual. Loss often reminds us what truly matters to us, leading to a heightened awareness of life's fragility and beauty. People frequently report valuing relationships, moments, and experiences more intensely after a significant loss, as the absence of something once taken for granted illuminates its worth. This shift encourages us to live more mindfully and cherishing the present. When experiencing loss, I encourage you to allow your faith to be a support to you. Thank you for joining me today. Next Sunday, I'll be sharing a new podcast episode on John chapter 2, verse 13 to 22, where we will read about Jesus speaking his truth to power. If you're new here, I invite you to check out previous episodes on major podcast platforms or YouTube. And for my regular YouTube listeners, please consider subscribing and sharing the podcast with friends who are interested in Scripture and the behavioral sciences. New episodes are released every Sunday, focusing on the upcoming week's gospel. Your feedback is always valued and helps our community grow. A big thank you to Heather Patel Doherty and Richard Coulombe for their wonderful help in preparing each episode. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at peter.doherty, that's DOHERTYOMI, @gmail.com. May God bless you on your journey of life.